Thank you for downloading this Brum Radio podcast. For more podcasts, visit brumradio.com.
And now, for your listening pleasure, it's the Brum Picture Show, brought to you by Brum Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Brum Picture Show, the film show brought to you by Birmingham-based community cinema collective Screen B14. On this week's show, to celebrate Robert DeNiro phoning in yet another performance as not one gangster, but two, we thought we'd talk about gangster films. Joining me from the mean streets of Borsall Heath is the Don of the Brum Picture Show and one of the fearsome godmothers of Screen B14. It's Nadine O'Mahony. How's it going, Nadine?
Good. I'm heavily in pre-production on a short film, so like Robert De Niro, I will be phoning it in this evening.
And I have done minimal research, so I'm just going to be text messaging this in. So it's going to be a good show, guys. But no, it's going to be great. So this week's topic, I mean, there's no real major new releases that we've managed to see, at least. We wanted to go see Novocaine, didn't manage to see that. And it doesn't sound like it's that good anyway. And then there's Snow White.
Didn't see that.
And neither did anyone else, apparently. So the Alto Knights has come out like a couple of weeks ago. So, gangster films, they're fun. So we thought we'd talk about some gangster films. So you've got that to look forward to later on. But first of all, as always, it is time for the news section. So has anything caught your eye in the news, Nadine?
Yes.
Oh.
Paul Thomas Anderson's got a new film coming out, and we have a trailer. It seems to be quite a dark film in that it's about war. Yeah. And there's lots of guns in the trailer. Yeah. Lots of people getting killed. But there's definitely humour in the trailer. So it opens with Leonardo DiCaprio on the phone, and he's going through these kind of passwords, and he can't remember the password to talk to this person. It's a bit of a funny little joke. And it seems to involve his child or a woman that he's got pregnant. Details are still kind of sparse, but Benicio del Toro's in it, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, Alana Chaim of Licorice Pizza, and Sean Penn are also in it. And it will be Anderson's 10th film.
Oh, so he's going to have to stop now.
Yeah, if he does a Tarantino, he'll have to quit.
That'll be
let's hope it's a good one.
Mm.
It's inspired by Thomas Pynchon's 1997 novel Vineland.
Yes, as was Inherent Vice. Well, not the same novel, but the same author. And I believe, but it's set in the modern day, right?
It looks to me, I'm imagining it's like a near distant future.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Right, okay.
Because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, because people have been saying that it's going to be his first film set in modern day / near distant future since Magnolia?
Wow, I didn't realise that.
Just a quick note from Editor Paul of the future. I mean Punch Drunk Love. Furthermore, we just mentioned Quentin Tarantino and his whole 10 film rule. And you remember that 10th film he was going to do? The Movie Critic, which had loads of rumors going around that it was going to be like a stealth sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with Brad Pitt being Cliff Booth again. Remember that? When he was just like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Well, apparently, now the script is going to be directed by David Fincher for Netflix, with Brad Pitt coming back as Cliff Booth. And Quentin Tarantino getting a lot of money for the screenplay. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, this news dropped after recording on April Fool's Day, and obviously everyone was like, well, that's clearly not true, but it seems like it's actually true. There's going to be a quasi Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sequel with Brad Pitt coming back, and David Fincher, of all people, directing. I don't know why all this news always breaks after recording, but that happened. Consider yourself informed, even though you've probably already heard this. Almost certainly. Anyway, back to the show.
In other news, John Carpenter has agreed to compose the score for Bong Joon-ho's next film, which is going to be a horror film.
Yeah. I mean, you say he's agreed. Didn't he just kind of say it in passing in a Q&A on stage that he would do it? I don't think that's contractually binding.
Well,
and I don't think he's actually properly agreed, has he?
Well, that's the internet saying he's agreed.
Wouldn't he rather be playing video games?
I think he's happy to bang out a bit of music, a bit of electro goodness. I think, and he's talked about being interested in coming back to directing as well.
Really?
But this was at a screening of The Thing.
Okay, yeah.
With Bong Joon-ho and John Carpenter. So yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
That's exciting.
One last piece of news.
Mm-hmm.
Coyote versus Acme.
Yeah, that was going to be...
You do then, because you probably done more research than me.
Okay. So you may remember, regular listeners of the show, that former presenter Rory, many, many moons back, reported on the axing of Coyote versus Acme, which was cancelled by Warner Brothers as a tax write-off, along with, things like that Batman film with Michael Keaton.
I don't think it was as a write-off, was it? If it was a write-off, doesn't that mean it can't be sold again?
Well, no, apparently it was a write-off, but then later on they kind of went back on it and said that it could be shopped around to other studios.
Okay.
So it's been shopped around to other studios, and now it is going to be released by Ketchup Entertainment.
Well, they've got another film out, haven't they? Another Looney Tunes film out.
Oh, yeah.
That's done fairly well.
Yeah. And because there's been a big thing recently, because apparently HBO Max have taken all the Looney Tunes off their streaming service.
What?
Because they want to make it more focused on family and adult entertainment. But I'd say Looney Tunes is pretty family oriented and adult. So I don't really understand that. But the point is, we are now going to be able to see Coyote versus Acme, and imagine if it's terrible.
It better be good.
Yeah, it better be after all this. So yes, there's no news on Scoob's Holiday Haunt.
I think that's dead.
That's dead.
Dead in the water.
But, at least there is hope for Looney Tunes. So I'm vaguely excited about that.
Jinkies. Even more appropriate.
Indeed. Other news, Meryl Streep is rumoured to have been offered the role of Aslan in Greta Gerwig's Narnia film. That's some progressive casting, I don't know. But yeah, what you that was quite a sigh, Nadine. What do you think about this?
What?
Yeah, there we go. That's all we've got to say about that. What?
I don't know. I don't think Lion and think Meryl Streep. I mean, she can play anything.
Yeah, she's an actress. She can. Yeah.
One of the. I think she's the world's most Oscar-laden actor or actress.
Yeah.
Almost nominated, so she must be all right.
Yeah, she must be. So I'm sure she can pull off playing a lion.
Not thought of her as a voice actor.
Well, it could be, might not be voice. Could just have
live action.
Live action, just have Meryl Streep in a big lion costume.
Like Cats.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So, yeah, with a nice CGI lion bum. So we got that to look forward to. Other things to look forward to. This is some funny news because it's about a comedian, but less funny in that it's about a dead comedian. The great Mitch Hedberg, and it's the 20th anniversary of his death, and apparently there's going to be a documentary about him coming out. So I'm quite excited about that. Do you know Mitch Hedberg?
I think so.
Okay, he's great. He was an American comedian who specialized in one-liner comedy, which may sound a bit rubbish because I don't know if you want to do stand-up snobs that likes all your stand-up to have a
two
narrative.
Lines. Yeah,
but yeah, he has such great jokes as an escalator can never break; it can only become stairs.
That's good.
That is good, isn't it? Is a hippopotamus or just a really cool hippopotamus? You like that? I haven't slept for 10 days because that would be too long. Yeah, that got you.
I feel like I'm on last one laughing and I've got to not laugh.
And a final one that I think is appropriate for us. I'm sick of following my dreams, man. I'm just going to ask where they're going and hook up with them later.
Good advice.
Yeah, so I may not have given those jokes the justice that they deserve, but he is really, really good. And I'm really looking forward to this documentary. It's going to be directed by Jeff Siegel, who made a documentary about Billy Joel. It's just wrapped filming, and it's going to have people like BJ Novak and Dave Attell in it. And I don't know. I'm just really, really looking forward to that. So, yeah. In other news, and I guess kind of related to our subject, is Michael Mann says he's handed in his Heat 2 script to Warner Brothers. That's exciting, isn't it?
Well, Warner Brothers are the studio that basically invented the gangster movie.
Yeah, there we go.
So will this have a gangster edge to it?
Yeah, and hopefully they won't write it off as a tax write-off.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Future Paul again. Obviously, we recorded this episode before the sad passing of star of Heat, Val Kilmer. I'm not sure why we even attempt to be topical on this show, to be honest. So yeah, I felt I had to interject to pay tribute to the great man. Here, I just rewatched Heat in his memory, and he is obviously really, really good in it. So if you haven't rewatched Heat recently, you should rewatch Heat. So yeah, I mean, what can I say? The internet has been awash with tributes to Val Kilmer. Most shockingly of all, a tribute from Jim Morrison himself of The Doors, who of course Val Kilmer played in Oliver Stone's The Doors. He has tweeted, "Rest easy, Val. Thank you for keeping the fire burning." So yeah, some bittersweet news there. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. But welcome back, Jim Morrison. Yeah.
So there we go. That's some news. You are listening to the Brum Picture Show on Brum Radio, and today we are talking about gangster films. So Nadine, tell me everything about gangster films in 12 minutes at max.
That's not long, is it?
No.
Well, so the American Film Institute defines the genre of gangster films as one centered on organized crime or maverick criminals in a 20th century setting.
Oh.
Yeah. So what makes that different from other type of crime films, though, like film noir? Well, this one is really centered on the criminals themselves, and they're often rise and fall narratives. So they're usually based around immigrants or poor people who sort of come from not privileged backgrounds, who come from very tough circumstances, but by their own grit and determination, kind of work their way up to be in these positions of power and wealth. It's aspirational, really.
Yes.
You know, pick themselves up by their bootstraps type, self-made men. Okay, they may have murdered a few people along the way.
No, that's all right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the genre, I mean, there are a few silent film examples, but the genre really kicks off in the 1930s, especially with Warner Brothers, who are famous for their gangster films and their sort of dark, sort of social realist sort of films. And we had stars like Jimmy Cagney, who, fun fact, was also a hoofer or a tap dancer.
Oh.
So he also starred in some early musicals as well. So he's the gangster side and the tap dancing side. So he's a man of many talents.
Yes.
And Edward G. Robinson. And so we had 3 films in particular: Little Caesar, The Public Enemy, and the original Scarface. No, not the Al Pacino one. The 1930s one really kicked off the trend. And as you may know, or you may not know, if you're into history, the 30s were the time of the Great Depression. So there was a lot of poverty in America at the time. A lot of people were out of work. There was a lot of starvation and all sorts of really unpleasant things happening. We had prohibition. So alcohol was outlawed. And to kind of fill that gap, the mob very nicely came about and sort of brought in alcohol illegally. We had the speakeasies and all that kind of thing, all that jazz.
Yeah, and I've seen people say that is kind of part of what led to people's fascination with gangsters, is that prohibition meant that normal people wound up hanging out with gangsters. And they were like, they're all right, those guys. They're helping us get drunk.
Exactly. Because before that, it was perfectly legal. Then it was illegal for a time, but a lot of the laws weren't that heavily enforced. So, yeah, the gangsters, friendly neighborhood gangsters stepped in to supply everybody with alcohol. They made a lot of money and a lot of inroads into other areas as well. So a lot of gangster films are quite epic, actually. They're sort of, it's not just centered, so you have things like heist movies, which are about crime, but they're centered on one particular job. Or you might have film noir films, which come a little later in the 40s and 50s, but they're much more focused on usually an investigator. So they might be an anti-hero, they might be a criminal in their own right, but they're more likely to be centered on the people investigating the crimes. Whereas this is kind of an epic sweep of somebody from their youth, often from their childhood or their, younger years, working their way up the ladder to be top dog. So yeah, they're often coming from a bad environment, and it's often the environment that sort of makes them. So there's this, they're not just baddies, they weren't just born bad necessarily, but they were born into a bad world and they don't have a lot of options. Themes of violence, brotherhood, there's a very strict hierarchy usually, and it's about loyalty amongst your brothers, but sometimes it's about betrayal. And often, because of the Hays Code. So the Hays Code came out sort of dictating what Hollywood movies could and couldn't do, what was sort of moral and what was right to be shown. So often the gangster has to die.
Yes.
Because he's a baddie. But he goes out in a blaze of glory. He's almost martyrized. So it's very glamorized, and it's almost, like I said, aspirational. Because he dies at the end, it's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's some great examples. So, like I said, James Cagney was famous for his gangster films. White Heat is a nice combination of kind of a noir, and it has a heist element, but it's really about this gangster, this Cody Barrett as well, and it ticks a lot of those gangster film boxes. So that's a really good film to watch. We get into Bonnie and Clyde in the 60s, really groundbreaking film, shockingly violent at the time. So we talked about the Hays Code earlier. Well, this is the film that tells the Hays Code to take a hike. Yeah, it was very it was the 60s. We had the counterculture going on, and it was looking at these real life gangsters. Bonnie and Clyde were real people, but treating them like folk heroes. They were going up against the man. Then we have the 70s. So we have the Godfather films, really codifying what it means to be a gangster. Francis Ford Coppola didn't really want to make The Godfather, and he certainly didn't want to make The Godfather 2. He actually tried to get the studio to get Martin Scorsese to direct it because he'd done Mean Streets, and it was kind of his area. Francis wasn't really a gangster type guy. He was a family man, which is kind of why The Godfather centers so much on family. But, Martin had explored that area earlier, but we hadn't had his big hits yet. So the studio felt, it was better to bring Francis back. And Godfather 2 was a massive success. Some could say it's even better than the first one. Brought him back for Godfather 3, didn't do so well, that one.
Did he want to make Godfather 3?
I don't think he wanted to make any of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I actually think Godfather 3 is a good film. Yes, Sofia Coppola's performance in it wasn't great. I think somebody dropped out at the last minute and he cast his own daughter, and her performance is a bit flat. But apart from that, I actually think there's a really interesting film in there.
I liked it, but I've only seen Coda, that version of it.
Oh, I've not seen that version.
Yeah, so I can't say.
So I don't know if that's better or worse. But the interesting thing is, the Godfather trilogy, he doesn't go out in a blaze of glory, does he?
No.
He's just sitting on a chair, kind of, having pushed all his loved ones away and or murdered them. And so he doesn't have that sort of blaze of glory. Maybe that's why people didn't like it. Because he didn't end in a blaze of glory. He just ended life as a sad old man. Then we have the 80s. We have the excess. Cocaine is in fashion. Scarface. Brian De Palma. Say hello to my little friend. I mean, really, I rewatched this recently with my daughter, and this film is epic on every level. It really is an epic film. And just every 2 minutes, I was like, oh, those sunglasses are iconic. That line is iconic. That dress is iconic. That sunset is iconic.
That score.
Yeah, everything. It's so memeable as well, and it's so quotable. And it's a film of excess. The runtime especially.
Yeah.
And that end, it's like a video game end where you just got all these hundreds of baddies coming out of nowhere with machine guns.
Yes. And another example of kind of people just missing the point, because Scarface is obviously, I would say, not even an anti-hero to a lot of people. He's just a hero. And did you watch the film?
He's basically
it's
a sociopath.
Yeah. He's not a nice man. And that's the thing about gangster films as a genre in general, is like, you're invited to empathize with mostly just very horrible people who sure have got there through circumstance or whatever. And, but ultimately the film's about murderers.
Mass murderers.
Mass murderers. But we go, gangsters. That's fun, isn't it?
Often very misogynistic and even violent towards women. But you know one thing about Tony? He won't kill women and children. He draws the line there.
He's got his morals.
And that's what I think that's why the one reason why people like these guides is they have a code. Okay, it's quite a twisted code. But there's a code of honor there. There's loyalty. There's respect. There's a few people that they won't kill. And they look cool. And look at the suit, man. That white suit. Come on. Who doesn't want to look cool? It's very Saturday Night Fever and very, very Chow Yun-fat. In his John Woo films. So America doesn't have a monopoly on gangster films. We get gangster films all over the world. So we have the Yakuza films of Japan, filmmakers like Seijun Suzuki, City on Fire and Branded to Kill, these glorious sort of quite avant-garde sort of Japanese gangster films. We've got European gangster films, French gangster films, and of course, British gangsters.
Jesus.
Yeah, we've got Brighton Rock in the 1940s was one of the earlier British gangster films. Then we had, of course, films like Get Carter in the 70s. And I like to call these films geezer films. Yeah. Because they often centre around Cockney geezers. A lot of Cray twin films, multiple Cray twin films. And in the 2000s, we saw Guy Ritchie and a revival of gangster films like Lock, Stock, Snatch, Sexy Beast, making the British gangster sexy again.
And it almost took over the entire British film industry, really, because Lock, Stock was such a success in 98 that it just spawned so many imitations, because he's basically a British Tarantino, really, and we haven't even mentioned Tarantino as a director of gangster films. But I feel like a significant percentage of British films were gangster films in the early noughties, thanks to Guy Ritchie.
Definitely. And he was a victim of his own success. He tried to move away from that. Yeah. He tried different things.
With Madonna.
Sherlock was successful, but some of his other films, Man from U.N.C.L.E., weren't successful. And then he ended up going back to the well that sort of fed him the first time. A victim of his own gangster success. Quite a posh man in real life, considering the films that he makes. But let's go back to America. We haven't even mentioned Scorsese.
No, not very much.
Goodfellas, Casino, working with Robert De Niro on a number of occasions. He did other things as well. He went historical. He did Age of Innocence. But the films that he's most remembered for, I think, are those films like Goodfellas, those gangster films. And he's returned to that genre with The Irishman not too long ago with De Niro and Al Pacino.
Yeah, and Joe Pesci.
Stephen Graham. who I've met briefly in real life.
Is he in The Irishman?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Oh, he's brilliant in The Irishman.
All right, I must revisit The Irishman.
You've got to rewatch it. It's actually a really good film.
Yeah.
I watched it at the cinema, and it was a shame because it didn't have a long release period at the cinema, but it was great seeing it on the big screen.
I think that is a film that I wouldn't mind if they went back and fixed the de-aging technology in a few years' time, just for prosperity's sake.
That would be great. Like, it's a shame because it took them many years to kind of get that off the ground.
It's just still not quite there.
It would have been great if they had been just a touch younger when they'd made it.
Yeah.
But I haven't even mentioned we sort of had the Black American gangster films of the 90s, like John Singleton's Boys in the Hood, and then we have films like Menace to Society in New Jack City, Hong Kong and the Heroic Bloodshed as well, which interestingly Scorsese did The Departed, which was a remake of Infernal Affairs, which was some Hong Kong-based films. But I think that's where we get a lot of that kind of John Wick style sort of, action times 10, millions of people getting killed and just endless bad guys sort of getting gunned down and all that kind of stuff. So we see that, in the 70s and the 80s in Hong Kong. So, gangsters have taken over the globe.
Yeah, it's interesting. The genre is still going strong, despite the lack of success of the Alto Knights. But it just seems, they're going to keep making these gangster films. So what's that about?
They're working class heroes, Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I think for many people, certainly for many working class people, it's the only way they could imagine themselves, with that kind of wealth and with that kind of, notoriety and fame and sort of, it's very glamorized often. Like I said, you watch something like Scarface, it's so glamorous, like the clothes and the cars and the houses. I mean, even the soft furnishings in that have been, imitated and rap musicians love that film. There's been many attempts to try and rescore the film and remake the film. And Brian De Palma has been like, no. We nearly had a Luca Guadagnino remake of the film.
I think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, there's a Joel Cohen script, a remake of Scarface. And many people were supposed to, I think David Ayer was going to do a version at one point. Luca Guadagnino was the last person signed on. Who knows if it will ever get made, but it'd be really interesting. I also really like Carlito's Way.
Oh, yeah, that's classic.
Yeah, so that is Brian De Palma and Al Pacino again, but 10 years after Scarface. And it's a much more mature look. I think he's a much more sympathetic character. He's a character who's trying to get away from that life, but keeps getting dragged back. And actually, it's his loyalty to his friends and his family that keeps dragging him back there. So it's almost his loyalty is what his greatest flaw is. And his weakness is sort of not punishing people and not being as harsh as he should be, because he's matured and he's been to prison. And so I kind of I think Carlito's Way is almost a response to Scarface for me, in the way that King of Comedy is like a response to Taxi Driver. So it's really worth watching both of those films. I think they work together really nicely.
Yeah. No, great stuff. Now, I want to do a little game quiz. I don't know. Nadine.
Yeah.
You know how you love box office figures and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'd like you to guess the top 10 grossing gangster films according to Collider. And I think there's some in here that are quite surprising, and some omissions that are surprising. So I'm going to invite you to have a little bit of a guess, and you can play along at home. What do you think is in the top 10 grossing gangster films? And I'll tell you if you're right.
Okay. Well, I know what isn't going to be in there.
Go on.
Once Upon a Time in America.
That
was a huge flop.
Yep, that's a safe bet. That is not on this list.
Well, surely Scarface is in there. That was a big hit.
Not on the list.
What?
I know. That's what I mean about this being interesting.
What?
Scarface is not in the top 10 grossing gangster films of all time.
Okay. Well, that's already thought. Have we got Snatch in there? We got some geezer film? What?
No. Did Snatch do really well worldwide?
Oh, I don't know.
Did it break America that much? I don't know.
Well, Brad Pitt was in it. That was quite...
That's true. People like Brad Pitt, yeah.
Oh, right. I'm going to really have to recalibrate.
Yeah, you see, it's surprising.
Oh, I haven't got one. trying to think of actual Is there any Guy Ritchie films in there?
No.
Are these like old films? Have you got like Get Carter and stuff in there?
No, the earliest film is 1972, which might give you a bit of a guess.
The Godfather.
Yeah, so Godfather is the third highest grossing gangster film of all time with 250 million.
The Godfather 2.
Yes, which surprisingly less successful. $93 million for that.
Well, it was a sequel.
I'd have thought the original Godfather to do worse because people didn't know what it was and they were like, oh my God, Godfather's amazing. So come the sequel, everyone would be like, we must go see Godfather Part 2. But yeah, Godfather Part 2 is number 10 in the list with 93 million, which means, very interestingly, that Godfather Part 3
is even higher.
Is actually...
the number one?
No, Godfather Part 3 is actually number 7.
Okay, so that's 3 down. We got 3 down.
Yeah, so that followed my logic of people going, oh, Godfather 2 was good. And then, yeah, Godfather Part 3 took 136 million.
Okay, Goodfellas.
No, not on the list.
Is there any Scorsese on the list?
Yes, but it's not Goodfellas.
The Departed?
Yes. Actually, sorry, there's 3. Yeah, there's actually 3 Scorsese films in the top 10. Departed is number 1, 291 million. And then...
Casino?
Yep, Casino is number 8 with 116 million. So yeah, Casino did better than Goodfellas.
Well, he hasn't done that many gangster films, really. So we're only left with The Irishman.
And you forget, no, Irishman isn't on the list. You're forgetting a very important gangster film from Scorsese's filmography.
Gangs of New York?
Yes, Gangs of New York.
I didn't realise it had done that well.
Yeah, Gangs of New York did 193 million. And that is number 5 in the list.
So we've got 3 Scorsese films, 3 Godfather films,
3 Coppola films.
Got 4 films. Are they all American films? Are there any British gangster films?
They are all American films. So we've got... Oh, actually, one of them is a British director, but I'd say an American film production. So you're missing 1, 2, 3, 4... from the top 10.
We got any of the 90s gangster films like Boys in the Hood?
No, none of that. Okay, I'm going to give you...
like Heat or something?
No.
Any Michael Mann?
Yes.
Like Miami Vice?
No, not Gangster. 2009.
Public Enemies.
Yes. Public Enemies is at number 4. It did $214 million.
So that's the Johnny Depp star film.
That was Johnny Depp. Yeah, I think that was the Johnny Depp effect at the time because he was still superstar Johnny Depp in 2009.
And he's playing a classic gangster, isn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting thing about that film, it was filmed in the early days of sort of digital, sort of that sort of move from celluloid to digital.
I remember watching it and thinking it looked a bit different.
So if you watch it now, it really kind of sticks out because it's those early days of digital and it's a bit, like I enjoyed it at the time, but the last time I tried to watch it,
it does look oddly televisual, doesn't it, for a Michael Mann film?
Yeah, I couldn't quite get into it, but I definitely would like to revisit it. It's not a bad film at all.
No.
Oh, gosh.
So you're missing 3 now.
You're going to have to give me some clues.
All right. At number 9, a 1987 classic. I guess it's set in the 30s. That kind of era. Also by a big director. Big director.
Is this the British director or the American one?
No, American. But it's got some British cast.
Hang on. No, I don't know this, but you were saying Tarantino earlier. So is he on the list?
No.
Oh, God.
I know.
Oh, 87. Oh, I give up. You're going to have to tell me.
Okay, The Untouchables.
Oh.
Yeah, Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma again.
That's number 9, and that did 106.2 million. I don't know why that one's got a decimal point, but it does. Okay, so we're missing the number 6 position. So this is the British director I was talking about, 2002.
2002. Sexy Beast?
Oh, no. That is a wonderful film, though. But no, I don't think
and it's not
Sexy Beast is one of the top 10 grossing gangster films of all time.
I'm running out of ideas here, man.
Okay, shall I give you this one?
Yeah.
Or shall I give you the director?
Yeah.
Sam Mendes.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, Road to Perdition.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't even think of that as a gangster film.
No, but
I had that on videotape as well.
He's wearing a coat. Okay, so finally, the number 2 spot. It did $266 million in 2007.
Is this like one of them? Who stars in it? Give us a clue.
Oh, that's too much of a clue. No, but okay, this is probably too much of a clue as well. It's one of your favourite directors of all time.
Ridley Scott?
Yeah.
What? Is it like, it's not The Counselor? That did
No. Although I really like The Counselor. That is an underrated Ridley Scott film.
I can't think of it. Is it not like...
It's Denzel. It's got Denzel in it.
Oh, God, yeah. American Gangster.
Yeah, American Gangster.
What? American Gangster, like the easiest title that I should have known.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll make good radio.
I think it will. I bet the listeners are amazed by that. But yeah, it's just some shocking omissions and some shocking additions on that list.
So can we have that list in its entirety?
Yeah, so number 10, The Godfather Part 2, 93 million. Number 9, The Untouchables with 106 million. Casino, 116 million. Godfather Part 3, 136 million. Road to Perdition, 183 million. Gangs in New York, 193 million. Public Enemies, 214 million. The Godfather, 250 million. American Gangster, 266 million. And The Departed, 291 million. That is your top 10 highest grossing gangster films of all time.
Road to Perdition's on there.
It's mad, isn't it?
But Scarface isn't on there. What kind of crazy list is that?
I know, but that's what the Collider says. Collider says this.
I'm sure it's only accounting for box office, though, not video and DVD and all of that.
Because otherwise, surely, over the last 50 years, 40 odd years, Scarface has definitely, I mean, in merchandising alone, Scarface has probably made billions. Because Scarface is almost a franchise, even though there's only one film. There's video games and all that kind of stuff. It's just it's a brand. It's
like a video game, that climactic scene.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, crazy.
So questionable list, but I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
So there you go. Email us in at pictureshow@brumradio.com if you think that list is wrong in some way.
Tell us what your favourite gangster films are. What ones we haven't mentioned, some of the classic ones, or some from other countries that we haven't even mentioned. We'd love to know. Please don't send us any horses' heads, though.
It's the review section now, and we're going to review a new gangster film, The Alto Knights, directed by Barry Levinson, who was previous in the genre. He made Bugsy, but also many other classic films, including Rain Man. That's quite well regarded. And also some other films that I didn't realise was in his filmography that I was like, oh yeah, Sphere. Do you remember Sphere?
No.
Oh. Well, it's a sci-fi film from the 1998, I think it was. And
it's about a sphere.
It's about this big sphere underwater, and Dustin Hoffman's there, and it can it manifests your worst nightmares or something like that.
Sounds kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, I don't actually remember much about it other than that I loved it when I was a kid or a young teenager. So that's well worth checking out, is Sphere. As is Bandits. Do you remember Bandits with Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton playing bank robbers, and they've got a love triangle going on with Cate Blanchett?
I don't think these films exist.
No, these films exist.
No. So are you making these up?
No, it's about a big ball and it's underwater or something, or in space.
A film about a big ball underwater or in space?
Yeah.
No.
It happened. Anyway.
Lies.
Email us in if you remember Sphere. And he also made Sleepers. You remember Sleepers?
What's it about?
Child abuse.
No.
It's a good film.
I think I've seen the poster.
Okay. I think Kevin Bacon's in it.
Okay. He's in everything.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so it's directed by Barry Levinson and written by Nicholas Pileggi, who, of course, wrote Goodfellas and Casino.
Oh.
So surely this is going to be...
that's going to be grade A gangsterism,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Surely this is going to be a great film because it follows the rivalry between two mob bosses in the 1950s, Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, and it jumps back and forth in a somewhat discombobulating way.
It's based on real life.
It's real life, true gangster stuff. And the gimmick here is that Robert De Niro is playing both of the lead roles. He's playing Frank and Vito for absolutely no discernible reason.
So he's doing a Tom Hardy.
But the Tom Hardy made sense because
he was playing twins.
Yeah, he was playing a twin.
The Cray twins.
His own brother. And the characters in this film, they're not even related to each other.
And does anyone remark on the fact that they both look very similar?
No, it's not addressed. Which is why it's so baffling, because it's not even like it's trying to make a point of saying, oh really, these two characters are two sides of the same coin.
Well, it's not even doing that.
It's not even doing that, because all the mobsters here are just kind of interchangeable characters anyway, caricatures anyway. So yeah, they're all just kind of basically the same people. So yeah, I think I read somewhere online that this would have been much better if De Niro had played every character, like being John Malkovich style. Like, because if you're going to do this, you might as well have him play all of them. Because yeah, that is the main problem with this film.
Like the Nutty Professor.
Yeah, exactly. Because the main problem with this film is that it just makes absolutely no sense that they've gone with this casting. So as it is, it's just kind of quite distracting, because you spend most of the film just questioning the creative decisions that led to this instead of engaging with the story. And it doesn't help that, because basically Vito wears, when he's as Vito, he's under heavy prosthetics and stuff. So, you know, he does look a bit different, but it's still, oh, that's Robert De Niro under a big nose. And what's even weirder about it is that Robert De Niro is basically doing a Joe Pesci impression. Which is just
I
so
saw
odd.
a clip of it and I thought it was Joe Pesci, and I got really confused.
But no, it's Robert De Niro doing Joe Pesci for some reason, which makes you think, wouldn't this be better with Joe Pesci? But obviously Joe Pesci just, I don't know, I think
maybe he wasn't available.
Yeah, well, no, I think he just couldn't be bothered. Well,
it doesn't sound like De Niro could either.
It's just bizarre. But I mean, thankfully it doesn't use any distracting de-aging. It does use distracting prosthetics instead, because they're all at different ages. But I don't know, it just didn't work. And it tries to do, it tries to evoke stuff like Goodfellas, and of course it should, because it's written by the same author, but, and it's got the voiceover and everything, and it kind of throws in all of this, archival footage, but it just doesn't have that energy of Goodfellas, and even though Goodfellas is like 3 hours long, that whips by, but this is 2 hours long and just slugs, and it's just so full of cliches and doesn't really do anything new. So it just kind of seems like diet Goodfellas, and it's just, I don't know.
I like that. Diet Goodfellas.
Diet Goodfellas.
Goodfellas Zero.
Yeah, Goodfellas Zero. So no, and apparently this film has been in the works since the 70s. Because it's
and
like,
it shows.
And it shows, because and it does. It reminds me of something like, I've mentioned this before, but Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho was a similar thing, and it was a film that was developed in the 70s and then made in the modern day, and it just does feel like a relic of a former time.
But people loved the 70s New Hollywood. People always banging on about it.
Yeah,
it was the best decade for filmmaking. Surely a film from the 70s would be great.
Yes, but when it's made in the 70s, can't try and do that now. But I don't know. So yeah, it's not terrible, but it's certainly not good. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. You couldn't be bothered to see it in the end, could you?
No. Well, you said it wasn't good.
Yeah,
but
you shouldn't listen to me.
Yeah,
you disagree with me all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm busy. I'm in pre-production on my own film. Thank you.
There you go.
I don't have time to go and watch bad movies at the cinema. I'm trying to make my own bad movie.
So yeah, I wouldn't bother both
How
the
many
nights.
Brums up?
Oh god, no Brums up.
Oh,
just a fist.
With a knuckle duster on it.
Yeah. But no, it's nice to see Robert De Niro doing some acting and stuff, but it's not one of his finest performances, and I'm glad he's alive and working.
Yeah.
But it's a disappointment.
It's a bit of faint praise. I'm glad the actor in this is alive.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say.
And unemployed. Yes. Yeah. There you go.
Glad you got a paycheck.
So that's the Alto Knights. Have you seen anything that you'd like to review, Nadine?
I could talk about Sister Midnight.
Okay, what's that?
So it's set in Mumbai, and it's about an arranged marriage which spirals into darkness as the spineless husband watches his wife morph into a ruthless feral force within their marital confines. So if that doesn't sound like a barrel of laughs, it actually is a very fun film. It's a very colourful film. It's shot on celluloid. It's shot on film, so it looks great. And there's obviously a lot of thought that's been put into the look and the aesthetic of the film. But of course, a film is more than just its looks. It's got a great central performance from Radhika Apte, if I'm saying that correctly, and her husband is played by Ashok Pathak, and they're great. She is especially just this kind of force of nature. She's this really interesting, kind of quirky. There's a lot of humour in it. It's a very funny film. There's a lot of comedy in it, and she's this real force of nature. And her performance is just so kind of out there and sort of unexpected. So I think, for the performances and just the general aesthetic and look and the feel of the film, there's a lot of stop motion animation in there, which you wouldn't expect because it's a live action film. So there's a lot of interesting, quirky choices. It actually reminded me a lot of Wes Anderson in that way. Like, it has this quite specific look. It's got a lot of this central framing. It's got these stop motion animated elements, and the story's really kind of unusual. On the sort of downside, obviously it's only 107 minutes long, but there isn't a real sort of engine to the film. There isn't this kind of plot, I think, that's sort of driving the narrative. It feels like quite a long way into the film before what it's about starts to reveal itself. For me, it feels more like a series of vignettes in a way. And it depends on how interested you are in that kind of thing. I think the story is interesting. I think what it's about is a very interesting story. I don't want to give it away because there's some twists and turns in there, but I think it takes quite a long time for it to really kick into gear and for you to really sort of figure out what's going on, because there's some unusual things going on. Again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but there's something unusual about our main character, our lead character, and she's doing some odd things, and I won't give any more away than that. But it's a really interesting film. I think it's leaning towards that kind of art house sensibility, but it's very funny, it's very entertaining at the same time. And I think, British filmmaker debut, local production company, well, not Birmingham based, but East Midlands based, Wellington Films. I think it's a really interesting film, and I can't wait to see what Karen does next. And if you like your Wes Anderson style films, he said actually he was very influenced by a lot of silent cinema, like Buster Keaton and things like that. So there's a lot of that kind of slapstick humour as well. But it's worth a watch. It's an interesting film. Again, if you like something very plot-driven, sort of action-heavy type thing, it's not going to be the film for you. But I think it's fun. It's fun and it's worth a watch.
Cool. I'll be sure to check that out. Sister Midnight, you say? Very good. You seen anything else?
Don't push it.
That's fine.
I've seen A Real Pain and I've seen Baby Girl, but we've discussed them previously, haven't we?
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Good stuff. Well, something that is perhaps more thrilling, if you do want something that is thrilling, is a new documentary on Netflix, The Twister Caught in the Storm.
What?
Yeah. It's good. It's about a tornado.
Okay.
I recommend it as a quick one. It's about a tornado that decimated a small town, Joplin, Missouri, in 2011, and it follows some storm chasers and people who just happen to be caught up in it. And it's just got loads of footage from early, 2010s smartphones, and it shows the people that are talking when they were younger in a tornado. And no,
they're talking in a tornado.
Yes, yeah. Well, they are. They do talk. They go, there's a tornado, and there's stuff flying everywhere, and they're like, help,
talking,
help. But then years later, they're doing an interview to the camera, and it's worth watching. not only if you like tornadoes, but just if you like small town characters, because like they've really chosen the participants well for this documentary, because all of the people doing these talking heads and telling the story of the tornado, they're really just they're real characters. They're quite funny and engaging and just actually very entertaining people. So it's worth watching for that alone. Really, it's just a good documentary with some good people. I didn't learn that much about tornadoes. I know they get pretty big.
What causes them?
It's like hot air and cold air colliding,
mixture, isn't it?
Yeah, colliding in a way, and then physics happens, and then
twirly.
Yeah. So, but no, I recommend it.
We had a tornado.
Yes, we did. We did, yes.
Birmingham. In fact, I was at work at the time, and my dad called me up and said there'd been a cyclone on his road.
Yeah.
And we all had a good laugh about that. It's like, a cyclone just on your road, Dad. We Googled it and we couldn't see anything. Yeah. And then I went home on the bus and I got off and walked down to Stony Lane, and it was like a movie. There were people being evacuated from their house, holding their children on their hips, kind of walking aimlessly around. And I walked to the park in Stony Lane, and there were just cars flipped over on their side. There was roof tiles everywhere. There were trees fell down.
That's right.
I did kind of a 360 thing. It was really epic. And there were these weird, sudden, mushy things everywhere. Everywhere I went, there was these weird, sudden, mushy things, and it turned out they were toilet rolls that must have been outside a shop that were just soaked through and just scattered willy-nilly around the place. It was crazy.
Oh, goodness. Well, yes, many people don't realise that the UK has the highest number of tornadoes per square kilometre anywhere in the world.
Wow.
But they're just mostly rubbish tornadoes. But that one was half decent.
You could see into somebody's bedroom. The ripped bricks out their wall, and you could see inside. It was mad.
He spent the day just peering into people's houses.
Yeah, like,
going, look at that.
And people were going, I've heard 7 people have died and all this. And I was going around telling people, 7 people have died. Nobody died. Nobody died.
Fake news was alive and well, even in 2009 or whatever
I was spreading it. Spreading the old fake news there.
So yeah, I look forward to the upcoming Netflix documentary about the Borsal Heath tornado.
Yes, me too.
Can't wait. So there we go. That'll do. That is all we've got time for on this week's show, but we've just got time for Nadine's roundup of local events.
Yes, so if you want to come to one of our screenings, Screen B14, please check out our socials at Screen B14 on all the major social media platforms. And we've got some really cool films coming up. On the 14th of April at Mockingbird Cinema, we're going to be showing a 4K restoration screening of Just Another Girl on the IRT. So this was Leslie Harris's directorial debut, and unfortunately the only film she ever made, which is crazy because it's so good. And it's about Chantal Mitchell, a hip, articulate black high school girl in Brooklyn who dreams of medical school, a family, and escape from the generational poverty and street corner life that she's used to. But personal and sexual challenges confront Chantal on her way to fulfilling these dreams. So that's the 14th of April at Mockingbird at 8 p.m. On the 17th of April, at the Cuban Embassy in Moseley, we'll be showing a selection of local Midlands short films. So the bar and kitchen will be open with 2 for 1 on selected cocktails, and we're trialling out something new, pay-as-you-feel tickets, because we don't want the ticket price to be a barrier to entry for anybody. So please, if you have the money to pay for the tickets, that's great. If you don't have a lot of money, that's fine. The tickets work on a sliding scale, so you can, it's up to you basically how much you think the night is worth. And that is on the 17th of April from 7:30 p.m. Whatever pays the rent, a friend of ours, another pop-up cinema, will be showing some films. So they're going to be showing La Haine, a classic French film, as part of their 90-minute movie club, only £5 at Hare and Hounds, and that's on the 23rd of April from 8 p.m. They're also going to be teaming up with Mockingbird Cinema for a Twin Peaks Season 1 marathon.
Woo! Woo!
Yes, plus watch-along activity pack and party games. And that's on Sunday, 4th of May at Mockingbird. So do check out Whatever Pays the Rent and their events.
I like Twin Peaks.
Yes, and if you are a David Lynch fan, we'll maybe showing something by him soon.
Oh.
So there's a bit of an exclusive on here. I won't tell you what we're showing yet, but do keep your eyes peeled on our social media.
I hope it's the entirety of Rabbits.
Maybe. But yes, lots of cool pop-up cinema events in the Birmingham area there.
Well, there we go. I think Nadine has made you various offers that you cannot refuse.
Exactly.
In terms of watching entertainment. Very good. Thanks for that, Nadine. Some exciting stuff coming up as always. Especially Twin Peaks. Hooray! So, yeah, that's it. That's all we've got time for this week. Do be sure to join us next time on the Brum Picture Show. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from me, Paul.
It's goodbye from me, Nadine.
It's goodbye for me. Oh wait, no, that was like a Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan Corleone.
Bob Dylan played by Marlon Brando.
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's enough. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
You have been listening to The Brum Picture Show, a Screen B14 production for Brum Radio. Tune in next time for more film fun, and don't forget to email us at pictureshow@brumradio.com. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Oh, that was all right.
Yeah.
That's some
usable stuff in there.
Thank you for listening to this Brum Radio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your podcast app.